Thank you, Count Ceorla. And Minister, the portfolio of special education is so important, and it is a role that directly impacts the lives of countless individuals with diverse needs, and as such it demands full-time dedication to ensure effective policy development, implementation and support for those who rely on the special education services. There is enormous issues with special education, and Minister, you will need all of us working together to make these changes. I have families into my clinic in Carlow telling me that their children are not being supported appropriately in the schools. They are not getting the same opportunities to access the curriculum as their peers. I have families going into debt to get private assessments to be able to get their children into special classes. I have children going years without assessments or vital therapies. Children are waiting months and years to get support, and sometimes that support comes too late for them. And Minister, you know yourself, the biggest cure is early intervention. And for all of us going forward, that's what we have to look at, early intervention. It is vital that the Department provide transparency on special education by disclosing the budget it sought through the estimate process for set allocation model, published accessible information about the changes to the allocation model which are clear and consistent for families. It is vital that we show confidence and comply with basic good governance and good administration by putting in place and publish a budget for the exceptional review process and guaranteeing the independence of the process. I have had local schools contact me as they prepare their school summer numeracy and literary programmes for pupils and for the ASD classes, special classes. Minister, and I know you're aware of this, but this is really worrying to me. Unfortunately, the funding has been cut considerably. While it was €60 per child per week in 2022, in 2023 it was €45 per week per child. And now, in 2024, it has gone down to €30 per week per child. Minister, it's halved. And I can tell you the amount of schools that are contacting me about this is absolutely, and I just can't explain it to them. And I really just ask you now, Minister, that is so important. I mean, this is going to have a detrimental effect on the quality of the programme for the children. Many children will not receive this positive experience this year. How can we deny children with additional needs and experience that they so desperately deserve, and why are we cutting this? And Minister, I really want an answer on this. Like, this is something now that for the last week I have been inundated with, and I really need to go back and say how we can sort this out. I really could do with answers for this. I do welcome the publication of the National Council for Special Education Policies, the advice paper, which is an inclusive education for all in an inclusive society, and I know others have spoken about that too. But we have seen a significant growth in the number of special classes being opened in schools, and I do see that in my own area, Carlow, Kilkenny, and I do welcome that too. So, like, I know there is the good with the bad. We do have a plan for the long term, or do we have a plan for the long-term development of new school campuses which would cater for all students to complete their primary and post-primary education? And Minister, the one thing I want to see is children with special education needs being able to enter the same school gate as their siblings or friends. And that is something that, you know, that is talked about a lot, which we really do need to have as well. I want to see teachers getting the professional learning programmes that they are asking for and the supports they need. And like the report, I want to see psychological and therapeutic supports in mainstream schools to help them support students with special educational needs. You know, we in Carlow, again, and at the services, Minister, I can only say, look, the services, they're not there. That's the only way I can say it. We have massive waiting lists for CAMS. We don't have dual diagnosis, and we need to bring all these recommendations in as quick as possible. But I do have two other issues that I want to ask you about, Minister, and one of them is, how many special language classes have we in primary schools? And as you know, the special language classes work with the HSE and the Department of Education. And that is something that has been brought to my attention in the last few weeks as well. So I'm asking you now to send me out, if you wouldn't mind, the numbers for that. And I know Carlow, Kilkenny, I think this is it's a 2-year course. It's a 2-year, do it for 2 years. It's excellent, but I believe it should be rolled out across the country. And I'm asking you now, what are the plans going forward with that too? I also want to ask you about verbal dyspraxia. That is something as well about schools. How many schools have this? Now look, my understanding is there's not many. Again, I want to know when are you rolling out, what is the situation on that. I will also want to ask you about dyslexia. How many schools have the school programme for dyslexia? Again, it's an issue. I believe all schools should have it, Minister. Again, I'm looking for the figures and the update on that too. And I just want to ask you, Minister, can children with Down syndrome, are they able to take part in these classes as well? And that was another question that was brought up to me recently as well. So I'm wondering, could you come back to me with all these answers? And I also want to ask you about in 2013, there was always what we would have been, say, mild learning difficulties or general learning difficulties. I'm wondering, what is the update on that? I believe, and I need to get further clarification on that, I don't know if that is in schools anymore. Again, it was really good, it was really welcome. Minister, there's huge issues here. And, you know, I work with families every day. They come into my clinics and, you know, because when your child is being looked after, families and, you know, they're kind of, well, I think they're more happier and they feel that we're getting there on time. As I said, it's all about early intervention, but there is children that really aren't getting the intervention they need. And I just know that we have a lot of money in budgets. While I welcome the good work that's being done, I really have to ask, you know, about the department and what is their future plan for, like, Carlow Kilkenny is my area, and I'm looking for the statistics for that and the figures for that. But, like, there's a lot of programmes here that needs to be addressed in schools. And, like, while there is a lot of good work done, I just feel, Minister, these are issues that are coming into my clinic every day, and I really don't have the answers for them. And if you could come back to me, Minister, on the summer schools programme and why the cutbacks are there. Again, I'd like to get back to the schools. Thank you very much. Thank you, Cancrola.